Welcome back to customizing a community edge node, and in this course we are going to look at how to install ComfyUI on a community edge node. So what this will do is it'll allow you to run some of the latest models right on Hugging Face on a community edge node rather than running the on-demand models or the dedicated models. First, we're going to need to create a key to access the edge node. In Windows, we run this command right here to create the key, and then we run the more command to view the key. In Linux or Mac, we are going to generate the key, and we're going to use the cat command to view the key. Alright, I've opened a command prompt and a Linux terminal, so we are going to create the keys on two different computers. So to start on Windows, you are going to go into the command prompt and enter ssh-keygen-t RSA. It's going to generate the key. I'm going to press enter to save it at the default location. And since I've already generated a key, it's going to ask me if I want to override it. I'm going to choose yes. And then if you want to make it more secure, you can enter a passphrase. For this example, I'm just going to press enter. And now our key is generated. To view our key, we're going to type in more dot backslash dot ssh backslash id underscore rsa dot pub. Alright, so now it displayed our key. To copy it, you are going to drag it and then right click. Now let's take a look at how to create a key in Linux. First, we're going to enter ssh-keygen-o. And we're going to hit enter to save it at the default location. And I already have a key there, so I'm going to override it. And for this example, I'm just going to press enter for the passphrase. To view our key, we're going to type in cat. We're going to press the tilde key. And then we're going to do /ssh/id underscore rsa dot pub. And that is our key. To copy it in a terminal, you just drag it and it's copied. Now that we've created two keys, only one of these computers is going to be able to log into our edge node. So do we want the Windows one or do we want the Linux one? Once this key is put in, only this computer can access that node. To use the edge node, we are going to go to the Theta Edge Cloud. We are going to select AI Services. We are going to go to where it says Training and select a GPU node. Then we're going to click New GPU Node. And I want to use a community node, so I'm going to click on Community GPUs. And then for our model that I would like to demonstrate here, I need at least 40 gigabytes of RAM. So we're looking for a machine that has that and isn't too expensive. And that one has a really slow upload speed. So let's use this one right here. Now, giving it a name is optional, but I like to name it based off the GPU number and the price. And then we have to select what image we want to use, and we're going to use the Blackwell one. And then the HTTP port is optional, but if you want to use your web browser to access the node, you're going to want to put in whatever port you want exposed to do that with. And then we're going to paste in our key. So this was the SSH key we generated in the previous step. And then we're going to create the node. And this can take anywhere from a minute to 10 minutes to launch. While that's loading, let's look at the commands we need to run to install ComfyUI. So we are going to access it through a terminal, and we're going to run an update command. Then we're going to make sure Python's installed. We're going to install Git, and then we're going to create an environment. We're going to activate that environment, and then we're going to install ComfyUI, the NVIDIA drivers, and then the CUDA drivers. So these are all the commands that we're going to run to install Comfy on the edge node. And if you want to run this in a script, you can simply save it in a script and bash it. But for this example, I'm going to actually run each command in the terminal window. And then the last, ComfyUI has a way to download models directly from Hugging Face. So it's simply comfy model download and then --URL. And you put in the address of the model you want to download. And then you're going to do --relevant -path, and then you're going to type in the path, so model/diffusion models. And that's going to download this model directly from Hugging Face into the node, and it never has to touch your computer. So it goes from Hugging Face to the Edge Cloud node. Now we're going to go back to the Theta Edge Cloud, and if for some reason you closed it, you're going to go to AI, Training, GPU node, and you're going to see your node here, and it's going to have status as checked and it's launched. And then we're going to click under SSH Show, and this is going to give us our login, and you can use this on Mac, Windows, Linux. It works on all of them. And then we're going to click OK, and then we are going to go back to our command prompt, and we are going to right click, and it'll paste in here. We click enter, and then it's going to say that we don't know this computer. And since I copied this directly from the Edge Cloud, I feel pretty confident that this is a computer I want to log into. But if for some reason somebody is trying to attack you and they get in the middle, this is just a warning saying, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And for this example, we are going to click yes. And now we are inside of the node. So we are going to run our commands. So the first one is going to be to update. So this is going to update. And then next we're going to install Python. After Python installs, we are going to install Git. And then we are going to set up an environment. So we are going to create the comfy-env environment. And then we are going to activate that environment. So now you can see right here it has comfy-env at the front. And now we're inside that environment. So we are going to start our ComfyUI install. Alright, and then the last one. And then it says, do you want to agree to enable tracking? And we're going to hit no, we don't want them to track us. And then it says, do you want to install it in this directory? We're going to say yes. And ComfyUI will install. This will take somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how fast the computer is that you're in right now. So I'm going to come back when this is done installing. Alright, it looks like ComfyUI has finished installing. So next, I am going to launch ComfyUI. So it's Comfy launched, and then we're going to say we're going to launch it in the background so we still have access to this terminal. And we're going to launch it on port 8188, which is what we put into the node when we created the node. And then we're going to enable Chronos Editor so that way we can access the API from any computer. And ComfyUI is now running in your background. To access ComfyUI, the interface, we're going to go back to the Theta Edge Cloud, and we're going to go to AI Services Training GPU node, and then under HTTP endpoint, it's going to say open, and it's going to be available to click. So we're going to click on that, and you're going to see up here it's got this long address in front of it on theedgecloud.com, and now we have ComfyUI installed, and now we can access it right in our web browser. And anybody who has this address can access this node. So if you give it to your friend who's working on a project with you, and you start working on a workflow in here, and you start adding nodes to it, and we'll just add a image upscaling node here. You start adding nodes to it, they can come in here and add another node and connect to it, and so we'll do image preview. They can come in here and start adding to it and adjusting this right in the interface. And if they happen to click run because they have this link, then it'll affect this node's processing. So it'll start processing what they're doing. So if two people have the same link, they could use the same node, and it could affect what you're working on. I just wanted to point that out so you're aware of that. Let's go find a model to install into ComfyUI so we can actually use this. So we are going to go to Hugging Face. And I was looking around earlier, and I kind of like this model right here. So this is WAN Alpha, and in Hugging Face, it's going to tell you what it is. It's a text-to-video model, and the license for it is Apache-2.0. And we're going to scroll down here, and you can see right here it has a GitHub, so that's what we're going to go to. But it goes through and tells you a little bit about it. So we're going to go to their GitHub, and as we scroll down, this model is going to use all of these different models right here that we have to download into ComfyUI. So we have to download this one, these two, this text encoder, and these vase. And then the last important thing we're going to need is this JSON file right here. This JSON file is what's actually going to create this workflow. So ComfyUI saves workflow in JSON files or in image files. So it can save this as an image file and then embed this JSON inside of it, which is kind of cool too. So you can download them either way. So this one we'll have to download, and we'll have to put these right here into our model to use it. And the one last thing I want to point out before we start downloading these models is each one of these models here could have its own independent license. So you will want to check that if you're going to use this for commercial use. And so sometimes models have MIT licenses, sometimes they're Apache, sometimes they're research, sometimes they're a license if they are over, like if you have over $1 million worth of sales volume in your company, you have to start paying them money. But all these models might have different licenses, so you'll want to verify that with each model before you deploy this commercially. All right, let's start installing these models. We are going to go back to our command prompt window, and we are going to enter Comfy Model Download. We're going to put the URL that we want to download and the path. So we're now putting this into the model/diffusion folder, and then we're going to press enter. And then it wants us to name it, so we want to name it what it is. It says it'll take about 4 minutes to download, so I will use some video editing magic to speed this up. Next, we are going to download the next model. And that should download really fast, and then this one should download really fast. And then the text encoder will take a minute to download. It's a little bit larger model. And it's going to take about a minute, so I will fast forward through this. And then we are going to download the last two models. And these should both download very quickly. And the last thing I want to point out before we finish this up is if you come up here and you see that this is 242 megabytes, 6,400, if for some reason this is showing 0 megabytes, then you have the wrong URL with Hugging Face. So you'll want to go back and correct that. And all our models are downloaded, so now we are going to go back and download the JSON file, and we are going to drop it into our web browser and start using the model. Then we're going to go back to the GitHub page, and we're going to download this JSON file. And then after we save that, we're going to go back to the ComfyUI page, and we're simply going to click on the JSON file and drag it into our browser. And then it's going to tell us some of our nodes are missing. Do we want to install them? And it's not giving us an option to install them at the moment. And I'm scrolling in here to zoom in. So when it has a red ring around it, what that means is this node is missing. So the node that is actually creating, that runs on here, isn't installed. And you have a manager right here that you can go through and install custom nodes on. And when you click install, it's basically going to run a Python script in the background and download their GitHub page. So this is the author right here, and it tells you when they were active, any conflicts. So sometimes different nodes will conflict with other nodes. So you can click on that and it'll say what node this one conflicts with. And I'm going to get out of this because we're going to have to manually install this node. So we are going to go back to their GitHub page and go back. Then we're going to look at how to install their node. So their node is right here. We are going to get their repository, we're going to clone the repository, and then we're going to install the repository. And right here they're trying to get you to create an environment, but we're already using a different environment, so we're not going to do that. So we're going to run these 3 commands to install it. We're back at the command prompt, and the first thing we want to do is make sure we're in the right directory. So we want to go to the directory comfy/ComfyUI/custom nodes. All right, so this is the directory where all custom nodes are installed. And then we are going to run the git command to clone that repository. And that's going to download it in. And then we are going to switch to that repository's directory. And then we are simply going to install it with a pip command. Alright, so as you can see, when we try to install this node, we got a no module named torch air. So maybe we needed that environment that it was telling us about. So let's give that a try. So let's install it. And then we will activate it. So now you'll see that there is a WAN alpha environment in front of our Comfy environment. And let's try to install this one more time. And we are now getting the same error. So I'm going to say there's something wrong with this module, and we're going to have to try something slightly different. Let's see if it's us or if it's something wrong with this module. So let's do nano test.py. And I'm going to paste in some code here. So we're going to import torch. We're going to see what version we have. And if it's available, it'll come back true. So let's save this. And then we're going to go python test.py. And we are getting that we have installed and it is active, it's coming back true. So there's something wrong with this module, and we're going to have to figure out how we can use this without this particular module. Alright, so we're going to go back to ComfyUI and we're going to say, hey, we have something wrong here. We can't install this node, so we need to get a different node. So I'm going to go to Manager, and I'm going to go to Install or Custom Node Manager. And then I'm going to look for Video. And I'm looking for the Video Helper Suite. So it's this one right here. And it's ComfyUI Video Helper Suite, and we're going to click Install. And I'm going to select the version 1.77, and it's just the latest version I'm selecting. And I'm going to hit Select, and then it's going to run a script in the background that installs it. And sometimes it doesn't always say restart. You just have to wait a minute. Sometimes it pops up with restart. This time it popped up. So we're going to hit Restart. We're going to confirm. And then I want to refresh it. So it's going to automatically refresh my browser. If it doesn't, you can just click the refresh button. Now our node's back up, and we are going to add a new custom node to replace this one. So we're going to right click, and we're going to click on Add Node. We're going to go to Video Helper Suite, and we're going to go to Video Combine. And then we're going to click on this node here, click Delete. We're going to drag this up, and I'm going to take one of these, I'll just choose this one, over, and we're going to set the frame rate at, so the length is there. So there's no frame rate anywhere. It was being done in this custom node, so I'm just going to set the frame rate. We'll just leave it at 8 right now. You can give it a name. You can select how you want the video to be. I'm just going to leave it as a JPEG or a GIF file for right now, so it's super simple. And we want it to output, and it's going to do this, and then we're going to click Run and see if this works. So right now you can see it's going through the different nodes, and it's on this one right here. If you go into the queue, it's going to say it's running, and there's a positive prompt and a negative prompt you can enter. And then we will wait for that to finish. Alright, you can see that our file is finished. It took 64.91 seconds to run. And if you want to view this, you can right click on it. You can click on it and open it. And then right click here and you can open it in a new tab. And then this will be the GIF file that we just created with a little girl blowing her bubbles. And that is how we use ComfyUI. And we even went through and looked at how to adjust it. So I think this alpha one from the GitHub page said it'll be black and white. So if we want to drag this over to images, we can, and we can run it through this alpha Vey decode one, and we'll do the same one. Let's see what results we get here. And this one's going to run a lot faster because it had to load all those models into memory, and now it's not loading it into memory, it's simply running the sampler. And here is the black and white image of her blowing the same bubbles. And if you want to change this to a video file, let's do that and show you guys how to do that real quick. I'm going to change it to video, and we're going to use H.264, and we're simply going to rerun the same one, and it'll run super quick because it's still in memory. Oh, this model doesn't run super quick, so it's going to just reprocess it and then kick it back out. And now you have it as a video file, which you can click on and play it. And you can click over here and you can save it. So save preview. And then the one last thing I almost forgot, and the most important thing that I want to show you guys is when you're done running your ComfyUI model, you're going to want to go back over to the Theta Edge Cloud and turn it off. So to stop being charged for this model, you're going to simply click on the three dots and click delete, and then you'll stop being charged for it. So when you're all done running your model, don't forget to come back over to the Theta Edge Cloud, go to training GPU nodes, and then click delete, and then your model will be gone and you'll stop being charged. Thank you for taking this course on how to install ComfyUI on a Community Edge node, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon.